Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Here with some comments on an upcoming fight at middleweight, but before I go further, just remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You know, it's really high risk. I mean, really high risk to take a fighter after he's been knocked out. You really don't know what to expect his next fight out, right? You know, if I were to take Roy Jones in his next fight after he was knocked out by Denis Lebedev, I really don't know if Roy's going to be gun shy, whether he's going to be fully healed from the debilitating knockout that he suffered in that fight. I really don't know if Roy Jones is going to be Roy Jones next time out. James Kirkland was knocked down 3 times. In fact, he was stopped in the first round against Ishida in his last fight. He looked awful. Joe Cortez stepped in, waved off the fight. But at the same time, Kirkland, after the fight, and I thought it was interesting, claimed that he was the victim of 3 flash knockdowns. When you looked at the video of the fight, incredibly, in my opinion, Kirkland was right. I think Kirkland, who had split earlier before the fight with his longtime trainer, Ann Wolfe, Kirkland was getting hit flush. The last 2 knockdowns came off straight right hands. Kirkland is a southpaw. Kirkland was getting hit flush, but when he went down, you could tell that it wasn't because of any, how do I put this, brain trauma. It wasn't like he had ever lost consciousness for even a second. Rather, he's a southpaw. He was standing too close to Ishida, who, going into the fight, didn't have a lot of knockouts, and who Kirkland may well have had the wrong strategy for. Right? So he was hit flush. He went down, didn't know what else to do, got back up, but unlike Roy Jones, he was completely lucid at all times, and he was able to give a post-fight interview. He was able to talk with the media. He was able to give his side of what happened. So I'm going to violate my own rule. I'm going to take James Kirkland in this fight. Let's go one step further. Kirkland, coming off the only loss of his professional career, coming off his worst outing as a professional, I believe Kirkland comes back with a vengeance. First of all, he's back with his trainer, the great Ann Wolfe. He should never have left her. He's back with an excellent trainer. He's going to be in shape, because you don't fight for Ann Wolfe if you're not in shape. Right? He's going to be in shape. He's going to be focused. And I'm not only going to predict a Kirkland victory in this one, I'm actually predicting a Kirkland knockout, and you should be able to get pretty good odds. Because, of course, James Kirkland got dropped 3 times in his last fight, and the market might be hesitant to take him in this one. Let me point out that Kirkland clearly doesn't look like he did before he went to prison. He's still getting himself back into top form. But Kirkland still has power. He's still a southpaw. It's very hard to prepare for both. He still has volume. He's still a very well-trained athlete. He's in pretty good shape. And as he works out his boxing kinks, and there's several, right? Kirkland, I've long felt, is open to straight right hands. You know, the last fight was not the first fight where Kirkland was dropped by a straight right hand. I believe a fighter in 2008 dropped him with a straight right hand, and Kirkland looked the same in that fight as he did his last fight. While Kirkland has some boxing technique and skill issues that he's working through, he is a puncher, he is determined, he is accurate, and he is high volume. And Saul Duran, unfortunately, in my opinion, his opponent here, has been losing most of his big fights for the latter part of the decade. I'll just say, too, that Kirkland's faults, getting hit with a straight right hand, does not line up well at all with Saul Duran's strengths. In other words, Duran doesn't throw that straight or that good a right hand. So even though Kirkland has a hole in his game, and I'm not here to say otherwise, I don't think it's a hole that Saul Duran can exploit. Let me also point out, too, that if you look up Saul Duran's record, you're going to see that Saul Duran's only win, despite his good record, his only win since 2006 was a decision victory over 48-year-old Hector Camacho. So if the market is too down on Kirkland here, my advice to you is to take Kirkland by KO. I think this is an excellent comeback fight by Kirkland against a fighter who doesn't have particularly fast hands, doesn't have a good straight right hand, quite frankly hasn't been winning quality matches of late. I like Kirkland by stoppage. I think Kirkland still has what it takes to be a force at 154, especially since I privately believe that the guys ruling the roost right now at 154, Canelo, um, Miguel Cotto, Cornelius Brundage, all have holes in their game that an aggressive fighter who's prepared to come inside and throw volume might be able to exploit. So I think Kirkland comes back big, in part because he's back with Ann Wolf, in part because a loss every once in a while is not a bad thing. It wakes a fighter back up. It gets him to rededicate. I think Kirkland has had to look in the mirror. He's had to look at his life. I think he gets back to business here. I'm expecting a stoppage over an opponent who, quite frankly, has seen better days. I like Kirkland by stoppage here. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. I'll say this, too, with regard to an over-under. If you can get an over-under of 7.5 or less, or higher, obviously, 8.5 or less, I would take the over-under if you don't have the opportunity to take Kirkland by KO outright. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.